Seminar, Dr. Raviraja Vankaila, Associate Professor at the Department of Bioscience and Bioengineering, IIT Jodhpur, with a PhD in chemistry from National Tsinghua University, Taiwan, and postdoctoral experience at National Tsinghua University and University of California, Riverside. Dr. Vankaila brings a wealth of knowledge and nanomedicines, biomaterials, theranostics, and drug delivery. He has published over 65 top journals and was recognized with several awards, including the DBT Ramalingaswamy Biomedical Fellowship and the Outstanding Researcher Award from IIT Jodhpur. Dr. Wonkaila's work focus on developing innovative solutions and for cancer and vascular diseases. He is currently serving associate editor from Frontiers in Drug Delivery and editorial board member for scientific reports and practical journal. He is also recipient of the 2024 Rising Stars in Biological, Medical, and Pharmaceutical Chemistry Award by American Chemical Society. A trailblazer in nanomedicines and biomaterials, Dr. Wankaila's works revolutionized healthcare with cutting edge research in diagnostics and drug delivery. With over 65 publications in top journals, he is a leading voice in the field. From the Taiwan to California and now Jodhpur, Dr. Wankaila's journey is an inspiration and his achievements DBT Ramalingaswamy Fellowship, Outstanding Researcher Award, and the 2024 Rising Star Award speak volumes about his dedication. Let's welcome Dr. Vankaila, Associate Professor and a true innovator who's here to share his expertise, ignite our curiosity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible, right?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And can someone also confirm if my screen is in slideshow mode and the slides are navigating, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
The
sir.
slides are moving.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much, first of all, for giving me this opportunity to, to just share a little bit of my insights on how, grant writing approach can be and how one can be very successful. I'll share some of my experiences and most importantly, what I'll take you through today with my presentation is what are the do's and don'ts that you need to really, think when you're trying to formulate a grant proposal. Okay. And just to give a little bit of background, although ma'am has given my introduction, I'll just try to give my career path. So I come from an interdisciplinary background. So basically, my bachelor's and master's both are from Andhra University. I've done my bachelor's in chemistry from actually Gayatri Vidya Parishad in Vishakhapatnam. And then I have done my master's from Geetam and I graduated in 2006. So back then, Geetam was affiliated to Andhra University. It was not an autonomous institution. And after 2006, in 2007, I moved to Taiwan at National Tsinghua University to pursue my PhD, where I have developed a lot of skills and I have learned so many things in Taiwan during that 5 years of my PhD time. And I have graduated in 2012 there, and I was there as a postdoc for 3 years until 2015 in the same lab. And then for my second postdoc stint, I have moved to University of California at Riverside. And after working for 2 years there, I worked as a chief technology officer in a startup company called as Red Optics, which is based in USA again. And then in 2020, I returned back to India. And then I have taken up the assistant professor position at IIT Jodhpur in the Department of Bioscience and Bioengineering. And in 2023, I got promoted to associate professor and I'm currently serving the department. This is my brief academic career path. So here, what exactly I wanted to tell is interdisciplinary skills are extremely important. You should not really get confined into one particular area or one particular space. because based on, I mean, although my academic training is in chemistry, I gradually navigated from chemistry to biology, and then now I'm working in the domain of biosciences and bioengineering, where biology, chemistry, material science, and all three goes hand on hand. So working in such kind of interdisciplinary spaces is extremely important nowadays if you want to be very, very successful as a researcher. So, just to delve a little bit more, my lab at IIT Jodhpur, basically, it's a nanomed laboratory where I try to develop different kinds of multifunctional materials, and I use them for drug delivery and diagnostic applications. And diagnostics are nothing but where you combine both diagnostics and therapeutics into a single platform. And then I modulate these multifunctional nanomaterials with the help of light. So that is my unique selling point. And the kind of materials, nanomaterials which I use are the 2D nanomaterials, which can be like, let's say, MOFs, amexines, or borophene. And then mesoporous materials, because these are also very popular for drug delivery systems. And then I also have biomimetic materials. So biomimetic materials are something where you take natural cell membranes and then you make nanomaterials out of those natural cell membranes so that you can minimize your toxicity and immune response, eventually. And then, of course, I'm also interested in exploring the, optical properties of the plasmonic materials for both diagnosis and therapeutic applications. And on the left-hand side, you can see that these are the kind of diseases I'm focusing currently. Of course, I worked a lot in the field of cancer. And in addition to that, I also expanded to aging and senescence and neurodegenerative disorders, bacteria detection and disinfection. So this is briefly, my current research focus here at IIT Jodhpur. And as I mean, I think we all are here today to understand and learn a little bit more deep and how to fetch grants successfully, and also how to make a good proposal, and what are the different sections you need to have in making a good grant proposal, and what are the things what are the mistakes which you should not make whenever you are writing the grant proposal. So I will share all of those insights in a little bit detailed manner. I think in one of the session, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, you people have also looked at, AI-based tools, right, for research, right, for research, or like, let's say, for grant-based writing. Now, a lot of AI tools are available, which can make your job more easy. But whenever you have artificial intelligence, if you don't apply human intelligence, then there is no point in utilizing the artificial intelligence. So make sure you don't forget to use the human intelligence in adapting the artificial intelligence process, right? So keeping that perspective in mind, you can see even in most of my slides today, I have explored, in order to deliver my lecture, instead of having a lot of text in the slide, I have explored Google Gemini to create some images so that that would be attractive, right? But again, if you just ask Google Gemini or any other AI tool saying that, can you create a presentation, to deliver this talk, it doesn't make any sense. You have to give a very good command. So in order to give a very good command, you have to apply human intelligence, right? So that is what it is important. Asking a relevant question to extract the correct information. And whatever information you get from the AI tools, it is also important to cross-validate. Don't just blindly believe whatever information which you get from these AI tools. You also need to cross-validate. So if you see here, basically these are the different kinds of funding agencies which are available currently in India. I'm only bringing the Indian perspective. So you have Department of Science and Technology, you have Department of Biotechnology, which is DBT, and you have Anusandhan National Research Foundation, which is called at this moment, but before it was SCRB, Science and Engineering Research Board. And then you have, of course, UGC, which is the University Grant Commission, and ICMR is there, and this Board of Research in Nuclear Sciences, then BRNS, DRDO, all these are NITI Aayog, Jal Shakti, all these are different kinds of funding agencies which are available, where you can try to pitch in proposals. based on whatever calls which are available. So what I see based on my prior experience is that the funding mechanism in India has been taken a significant leap, because maybe 5, 6 years before, the funding mechanisms were different, but now the funding mechanism is entirely, it took a different direction. So 5, 6 years back, what happens is that there is a lot of funding available for PI centric proposals, right? So as a principal investigator, you are eligible to apply to any of these funding agencies whenever they have calls. But now what's happening is that those PI-centric proposal calls are relatively low in number, but most of the calls, they are, very domain-specific calls, and they are mostly open for, bigger level of research, where you try to pitch in, multiple PI or multi-institute centric proposals. So I think this is the major transition which has happened in terms of the overall funding scenario when it comes to India. So 5, 6 years back, it was mostly PI centric, but now if you can see, there are more calls open for center of excellence, or there are more calls open for multi-centric proposals where more principal investigators are involved, or more, partnering institutions are involved. And usually the funding agencies, they don't like if you just submit a proposal in a, just a single person from a single institute. They don't really like. You need to have a complementary partner. Okay. So that means that is where the interdisciplinarity comes in. Like, let's say if I'm a chemist or a biologist, I can look for a material scientist, or I can look for a, a core clinician to support my research, and they can be the co-principal investigator, or they can be the, multiple principal investigator, and they can also pitch into my proposal. So these kind of proposals are really encouraged in general. And the second thing is that most of the calls, 90% of the calls, they are domain specific, right? So when I say open calls means whether you're working in energy, or whether you're working in environment, or whether you're working in healthcare, anybody should be able to apply. It's a general call, proposal call. But now the calls are bifurcated into domain specific. So there are certain proposal calls only for energy domain, where only energy research people can apply in, or there are certain proposal calls only for healthcare. So this bifurcation has happened. So this is a very big transition which has happened in the funding mechanism. So this is something we need to keep in mind. So now, here you can see that, just a second. So here, this is a kind of a grant proposal workflow. So basically, these are three different kind of these are basically, 5 different phases are available in terms of the grant proposal workflow. So the phase one is the strategic alignment, okay, where you look at the concept feasibility. And phase two is what are the different sections you have in terms of proposal sections, like, the detailed anatomy, of a proposal. And then the phase three, which is the most critical part, is the budgeting and the administration. And of course, the phase four is the review process. And then the phase five is the resubmission and the resilience. So if you see, every particular phase becomes extremely important in terms of fetching a winning proposal. Okay. So nowadays, you can also understand the scenario that more and more people are, returning back to India, and more institutes are developing, and more people are applying. But the overall, the funding has becoming a little bit less. But the people who apply, or the people who compete to those proposals for that funding, has significantly increased. So your proposal need to be really competitive, then only you can try to fetch the grant. Otherwise, that's the reason why nowadays getting a grant has become a very big challenge. So make sure you spend a lot of time in from ideation stage to the developing stage in terms of your entire proposal writing, and spend a lot of your time in developing the proposal.
Sir, sorry to disturb you. Please unmute yourself, sir.
The first thing is the strategic alignment, where there is a concept feasibility, where you can match your idea to the agency goal. Okay. So first, you just look at what are the different what is that funding agency which I'm applying to, and what is the goal of that funding agency. Like, let's say, for example, I'll give you an example. There is a funding agency called Ministry of Jal Shakti, okay, which is actually, that Ministry of Jal Shakti is handled by the Jal Jeevan Mission, by the central government. And Ministry of Jal Shakti, as the name itself indicates, it mostly relates to the water related proposals. Okay, so that means in that particular funding agency, you can apply a proposal only related to water. Okay, like let's say related to water contamination, or maybe you're trying to eliminate the water contamination, removing of heavy metals, or maybe let's say you're trying to develop a sensor, to detect certain heavy metal contaminants in the water bodies. All that proposals can come under that Ministry of Jal Shakti. So you need to understand what is your funding agency goal is about, and then you can match your idea to the funding agency goal. And then the second part is anatomy, where you have different sections. I'll get into the details in the later slide. And then, of course, budgeting and administration. So this also I'll try to have details in the later slide. And then, of course, you have the review process as well as the resubmission and the resilience. So now the first part, where the matching ideas to the Indian funding agency. So first, concept feasibility and identifying the perfect fit. So you need to define your project scope. Okay. So you clearly identify what are your objectives and what is that new technical concept you're bringing in. Okay. And then once you define your objective, and once you have the novelty and the innovation in terms of the new technical advancements or the concepts you are bringing in, then what happens? You can have a lot of measurable deliverables, or you can have your knowledge performance indicators and etc. And then the second most important thing is that you need to assess feasibility. See, as I mentioned that nowadays the the amount of funding has become significantly low, and the people who are competing to get to get the proposal successful, it is also, the number of people are increasing. So that means you need to really make a competitive proposal, and the funding agency should believe that whatever proposal you're pitching in, there is a good feasibility. That means this proposal can be doable. Okay, if I give the money to the principal investigator, that there is 100% chance that this proposal can be successful, or that principal investigator can have all the facility and the potential to make it successful. Okay, so in order to have that feasibility or assess that feasibility, you need to have a preliminary data. If you don't have a preliminary data or a proof of concept, it is very, very difficult to get a successful funding in terms of proposal submission. Okay, and core team expertise. Core team expertise is also important. As I mentioned, a few minutes back, especially when you're working in the interdisciplinary domains, you need to bring different people. Okay, you should really come out of an idea that proposal means something I myself will write without involving anyone. You should really come out of that conservative mentality, and you should really be open, and try to fetch in who can partner with, who can be complementary, so that you can make a good team, and each particular team member have a specific expertise in terms of delivering the right things related to your proposal. And then, of course, whether it is a single institution or multiple institution, what is the available institutional infrastructure? That is also becomes very important. So all these three will give you a kind of a feasibility for the reviewers who are sitting in the panel, and then, okay, this project might be doable because they have some basic infrastructure, institute have some basic infrastructure, and also the team in which the proposal is being pitched in also is very good because they have team members from different domains and all these things, and they also have the preliminary data to support, that this entire project can be successful. So this thing becomes extremely important. And whether you're applying to DST or DBT or ANRF or PRNS, all these things definitely matters. See, most of the DST related calls would be like either related to the smart materials domain or mostly into the manufacturing systems or robotics. But as DBT, as the name itself indicates, the Department of Biotechnology, they mostly, fund bioengineering related proposals, medical devices, and medical devices also come like, even your sensors are into medical devices, right? If you're trying to develop a biomolecule or you're trying to detect a biomolecule with the help of your sensing mechanism, that can also be transformed into a medical device and your bioprocessing. Okay, all these are the three major areas in which DBT can fund in. And ANRF can be very broad, Anusandhan National Research Foundation. So basically, they can have the large scale interdisciplinary engineering, which can support the national missions. And BRNS, the Board of Research in Nuclear Sciences, again, if you have any research which is related to nuclear applications, or maybe you're developing some new materials which have a potential in the field of nuclear science, or maybe something related to radiation, all those related research can be equally supported by the Board of Research in Nuclear Sciences. Now, let us delve a little bit detail, like what are the different segments that you need to have in terms of formulating a very good proposal. And again, the perspective, whatever I'm giving, it is the Indian perspective, okay? Because the perspective from Western countries, there is a slight change in the sections of the proposals, but that I'll get to elaborate a little bit if there is some time. But I'm mostly giving you an Indian perspective, okay, which is important as of today. So the first thing you need to have is your executive summary, right? Executive summary is something like your abstract. Okay. So you need to have a good project title. Okay. And then you need to have a good executive summary, which can be very concise and it can be impactful. And it should also have an alignment with the national mission. Okay. One of the examples is Make in India or Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? So make sure your project title and executive summary has all this information. Don't put any sort of lengthy titles in your project, okay, in terms of your title. The title should be very brief and the title should be concise and your novelty should be there and the title should be impactful also. And when you're formulating your abstract or the executive summary, you should also make sure that you start with the bigger picture and then you gradually narrow it down to your work, to your novelty, and then you summarize at towards the end of the last few lines of your executive summary, like what exactly you're trying to develop in this particular proposal, okay, and how this can be impactful in a broader sense, okay, or how it can be useful for the society or for the mankind. All those can be nicely formulated and edited, and remember it should be very brief and concise. And the second and the most important part is the literature review and the state of the art. So this is where your introduction would come into the picture, where you should also talk about your problem statement. Okay. 99.99% of the funding agencies, they fund to the problems related to Indian context. Okay. So you can always, like, let's say, for example, if I'm trying to tackle a particular type of a cancer, okay, cancer is a global burden, right? And if I give the global statistics in the proposal, that is nowhere helpful. What I need to talk is what is the Indian scenario of that particular disease. That is what is important. So bring Indian context into the proposal. Okay. And then try to make it big. This is a very big problem and this is a huge burden within India. And that is why I'm trying to develop a solution to tackle, this. And you can also say that this can be more economical than whatever the technologies which are already available in terms of their state of the art. So bringing Indian context into your proposal is extremely important, and also identify the technological gaps. Okay, and also provide your societal significance. What is the impact and the societal significance is also something you need to clearly specify. All this can come under your literature review and the state of the art. And now you have objectives and specific aims. Objectives and specific aims. So mostly for the Indian proposals, you call them as objectives or specific objectives. But for Western countries, you call them as specific aims. There you don't call as objective. Okay. So, but both are same. But here, what you need to do is you need to clearly identify goals. Okay. And the objectives or the specific aims for a proposal can be not more than 4. So please make sure you will not have more than 3 to 4 objectives defined. Okay. And then you also make sure that under each objective, there is a quantifiable deliverable. Okay. Like for each particular objective, what is that you're going to deliver, and make sure that is quantified. Okay. And then, of course, you have your work plan and methodology. This is a kind of your experimental section where for each particular objective, you can provide the detailed work plan, detailed methodology. And for each particular section of your work plan related to a particular objective or a specific objective, you can have a milestone. Okay, what milestone you're going to achieve. Okay, and milestone is different than that of the deliverable. Okay, so you can provide detailed task, you can provide the milestone, and it is also important to also identify what is the pitfall. Okay, so sometimes what happens, you propose a particular process. Let's say that particular process might not be successful. Okay, but you did not try it out, but you're proposing that into your grant. Okay, so now what happens, there is also a plan B. If this particular process is not successful, then what is your plan B? And that plan B is kind of your alternative. Okay, so always specify your pitfalls and alternatives also into the methodology section, which is aligned to a specific objective. And these things are extremely important, and then only people can, or reviewers can, understand who are sitting in the panel that this is a well thought proposal. Okay, not only they have proposed their work plan and methodology, but under each particular subsection, they have also identified what are the potential pitfalls and what is the risk mitigation strategy. Okay, if there could be an alternative, what could be the alternative strategy? And of course, you have the budget and justification, and then you have your expected outcome. And expected outcome and impact can be, you know, it can be as broad as possible, and it can be really related to specific to domain. And nowadays, I think all of us know if you just publish paper, that is not enough, right? You really need to have publications, patents, or if you're trying to develop a prototype, or if you're once you have publication, patent, and a prototype, whether your technology can be transferred. Okay, maybe let's say a company can adapt your technology, right? All that you can elaborate in terms of your expected outcomes. And there is no problem. Always your expected outcomes and impact can be much ambitious. Okay, make sure it is highly ambitious. So I think this is again just a summary, where you have, make sure that your executive summary and project title can explicitly match with your national priority missions, okay? And also the kind of a sustainable development goals. Okay, and introduction to problem statement. You clearly define the technological gap from the Indian context and what problem, basically it's a matter for Indian society or the industry, and what is that you're solving it right now. And the literature review and the state of the art kind of shows what is known in your field and how this section needs to be demonstrated, why you think you are the right person to build this solution, and also provide the national and international status. So you can have two different subsections in this particular section. One can be the national status and one can be the international status. And of course, objectives and specific aims should be smart. These should be specific, these should be measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Make sure these are smart objectives. And as I also talked a lot about work plan and methodology, you should define your processes very well, and you should also try to identify, your risk mitigation strategy and try to come up with a plan B if, some of your process fails and all that. And of course, budget and justification, and then you have your expected outcomes and the impact. So in terms of problem identification and the need statement, these are the sustainable development goals and these are the global goals, right? These are the 17 sustainable development goals. No matter whatever you work, whatever field you're in, whether you're in energy, environment, or healthcare, it should match with one of these, sustainable development goal. Like let's say I'm working in healthcare, so it should match with the good health and well-being. Or if I'm working in clean energy, like let's say it should match with affordable and clean energy. Like let's say if I'm trying to develop a portable a drinking water system, okay, it should match with the clean water and sanitation, right? So all these global sustainable development goals were very well defined. So try to align your proposal to one of this global sustainable development goal. And then from there, you bring the Indian context into the picture. And then accordingly, you try to formulate your, entire proposal topic. So this is again, whenever you're trying to make a good executive summary or abstract, so make sure you have 20% of the text for your abstract, which comes from this urgent Indian problem and context. Okay, you dedicate 20%. See, mostly the executive summary or abstract will not be more than 300 words. So 20% of your that 300 words should be on this your problem statement in Indian context. And 20% you should clearly highlight what is the gap, what is the technology gap. And another 25% should be what is your proposed innovation. Okay. And then another 20% should be, what are your aims? You can briefly describe, what are your objectives? Objective one, objective two, objective three. And then what is the outcome or impact which you're bringing in? So maybe the last one or two lines can be the 15% of the text, where how it can give you deliverable, quantifiable deliverable, and how it can create an economic and societal impact, and how it can align with the national mission. All this you can talk about. But this is the basic bifurcation if you want to write a very good executive summary or abstract for a proposal. And whenever you're trying to design specific objectives, okay, all of us use certain terminology and certain language, right? There are certain do's and there are certain don'ts, right? We should always use verbs in terms of designing objectives, right? So, but there are some verbs which are recommended and there are some verbs which are need to be avoided, because these verbs, what happens is that they become very ambiguous, or they become too broad, or sometimes they become too passive or ineffective. Okay, now let me give you a little bit of example, like what are the verbs which you need to avoid in terms of whenever you're writing objective. So don't ever use these terminologies. Don't say to understand something or to explore something or to investigate something or to study something or to research. All these are very broad. Okay. In this, the goal is not clearly measurable and the outcome is also not clearly specified. So this need to be avoided. And examine, monitor, observe, continue, assist, discuss, to list. This also should be avoided because this is also passive and ineffective. And then to revolutionize or to transform or to solve something very big problem. So this also what happens is that the reviewer will feel that, the proposal is too ambitious. It is overly ambitious. It lacks focus. And then they will reject your proposal, right? So make sure to engineer, to design, to optimize, to create, to characterize, to evaluate, to validate, to unravel, to increase, to reduce, to maximize, to minimize, to expand, to accelerate, okay, or to deliver, to provide, to produce, to generate. All these are acceptable or recommended, the verb terminologies. whenever you're framing your specific objectives, make sure you use these kind of recommended verbs, but do not get into any sort of these kind of verbs which you need to avoid. So make sure you don't use these kind of verbs. So don't try to make it overly ambitious, and don't make it try to keep it very vague. So in terms of strategic literature review process, of course, you start with your problem statement and the project goal, and then eventually you get into the broader literature review, where you try to bring the Indian context, and you also try to define the global context. So where you synthesize existing solution and you define global and Indian context, and then you also identify the research gap and the societal urgency. So this is the broad literature review context. And then you can try to narrow it down specifically, where you can try to project the state of the art. Now you look into, like, let's say in India, if I'm trying to develop a biosensor to detect something. Now, what are the labs within India that they are trying to work in the same direction, that they are also trying to detect the same analyte using a similar kind of a biosensor? You try to give a very detailed, focused state of the art, okay, so that you can analyze the individual labs. And then, of course, you can always benchmark and provide the knowledge performance indicators, like in terms of their efficiency, cost, as well as the speed. And the third step would be, what is the gap analysis and differentiation? What is the difference between your concept and the concept which is already being existed in the literature? You need to clearly tell what is your USP, what is your unique selling point, right? So identify your unique selling proposition very clearly, and then you position your USP, appropriately into the proposal, right? And then you can also create a competitive advantage matrix, where, see, economical factors is one of the very important thing you need to take into account, and complexity. And then you can also look at the reliability, and also you can look at the scalability. All these are very, very important in order to build a very good competitive advantage matrix. So you provide a table where you have all these parameters, and then you see what is your solution is offering when compared to the existing ones in the literature. Okay, when you have this kind of a competitive advantage matrix, what happens is that the reviewers will clearly see that this particular technology, whatever the principal investigator is proposing, has a huge potential to overcome the existing state of the art. Okay, and of course, all these elements becomes very important when you're trying to deep dive into the strategic literature review. And also, state of the art process is more focused, where you can try to look at specific labs which are working in your field, and then try to give a general perspective. Yeah, so I think this is what I have covered. So here I've just summarized for your information. And see, all of us know that there are various ways to do literature search, right? I think in yesterday or day before yesterday, probably you might have heard some of the databases or the AI-based tools where a thorough literature search can be done. Okay, but today I will probably introduce two, three tools where I like it. I personally like it, and I personally feel it is very handy, and where you can apply a lot of filters, and then you can try to play with it. And one of the best thing, I would say that there is something called as lens.org. And lens.org, if you type certain keywords into the lens.org website, basically you can try to populate the patents, you can try to populate the all kinds of scholarly works, and then you can apply various kinds of filters to see what is the patent statistics, like what are the patents available on that technology or the keywords which you are giving, or what are the scholarly works, what are the papers which are being published in terms of those keywords. Like, for example, when you type just nanomedicine as a keyword, you can see that there are 1,22,374 scholarly works in terms of papers. Okay. And if you select patents, then you might get some patents. So this becomes a very handy tool, and you can apply so many filters like institution, author, the funding, the journal name, the document type, and the date range you can set. So this is an absolutely fantastic tool, and it is a free tool. Okay, so anyone can open the website and you can just do it. And of course, if you have access to ISI Web of Science and the Scopus, then of course these two can also done a similar job. They can also perform a similar task. But I think lens.org probably does the best. And most importantly, that's a free tool and it can be accessible by anyone. I would recommend everyone to, definitely to use this tool in terms of their effective literature search. Now, in terms of defining the SOTA matrix and also your KPIs, what is the strategic framework, for the grant proposals from the Indian perspective? So, of course, you start with your scientific problem statement, you go with your literature review and the SOTA mapping, and then you also deep dive into the key engineering parameters, like, in terms of efficiency, in terms of economic possibility, in terms of reliability, in terms of scalability, and then what are the technical performance indicators, like in terms of if it is a sensor, what is your sensitivity, what is your selectivity, and what is your long-term stability and throughput rate, all those, these are technical performance KPIs. But the measurable key engineering parameters could be your efficiency, the cost factor, and the reliability. And all these you can also try to make another kind of a SOTA matrix where you can put all these KPI parameters, and then what is that you are offering, the current global SOTA is offering, and the current Indian SOTA is offering, the state of the art is offering, and what is that your proposed innovation is offering. And compared to the global and also to the Indian one, if your proposed innovation is really benchmarking in terms of all these parameters, then definitely this gives an understanding to the reviewers that you are proposing something which is cost effective, which is efficient, which is reliable, which is scalable, and which is much more durable. And then you have a very high chance to, crack that particular proposal with a very good funding. And of course, the other important part would be the budgeting and administration. So basically, for any kind of a Indian proposal setting, you can divide the budgeting into two different sections. One could be your non-recurring, and then the second one could be your recurring cost. And then you also have the institutional overhead where the facilitative and the administrative costs can be supported, and in which majority of the funding agencies offer. So non-recurring is something where you have equipment and make sure whenever you are proposing an equipment, you should also have what equipment that your institute or already have. Okay, so you please list out the detailed state of the art facilities that your institute have or your department have, and then make sure whatever you're asking in the proposal is not a replica of that. Okay, because if you have something which is available in your department or the institute, they will usually discourage of giving the same kind of an equipment. Of course, if you are trying to develop a specialized kind of an instrument, then that is always you can actually justify and make sure you have a very good justification. So whatever equipment you're proposing, make sure you have a proper budget justification. Okay, budget justification and also the technical justification. You provide both these aspects. And in terms of the recurring cost, of course, manpower, you can always specify what kind of roles and responsibilities and why you want that particular manpower, and what kind of fellowship you're going to offer, like let's say for the project staff, and the duration for each position. You clearly specify even before writing the numbers into the proposal. Make sure you look at the funding agency norms, because each particular funding agency, they have a different norms for manpower. So please look into that. And again, in terms of consumables, like if you need some plasticware, glassware, chemicals, raw materials, or some sort of a common electronic components or some sort of lab supplies, all these can come under consumables. And mostly the travel head is also very, very limited and fixed. So for travel and contingency also, I would request always go through the norms of the funding agency, because usually they have a cap on in terms of the travel head as well as the contingency head. And the same thing goes with institutional overhead. So every funding agency, they have different policy in terms of their institutional overhead. And no matter what, in general, nowadays, they are not offering more than 50% of the institutional overhead in overall scenario. And this is the sample Gantt chart I'm providing. Gantt chart is also an important thing which can go into the proposal, where you try to list out what are the different kinds of milestones. Like, let's say if your project is for 3 years, then you can have like every 3 month interval, what is that you're going to deliver. Like let's say in the first 3 months, I will be recruiting the project staff and I will try to procure all the instruments and the consumables. And then from fourth month onwards, I will start, trying to work on the proposal objectives, and then I will try to achieve different milestones, and then finally what happens is that towards the end, you can always say that the last 6 months can be dedicated to specifically for making the report or making the publication or trying to draft the patent and send it out. For all that, last couple of months you can devote to that. And the review process, of course, this is also one of the very important thing. They will definitely look at the technical merit and the innovation, which comes as the first level. Like, let's say if you bypass or if you surpass the technical merit and the innovation, and the next part they will look into it is whether your methodology you're proposing is correct or the methodology is really feasible. Okay. And then so basically, it will go to the peer review panel, and then they will look at the technical merit and innovation, methodology and feasibility, and then you have your budget justification, and then you also have the alignment with the agency mission. Okay, and then once all this is done, this will lead to the decision either your grant can be accepted, where you can get the secured funding, or sometimes what happens if you're trying to propose a lot of money, which the reviewers feel that this particular proposal doesn't need that much, then what happens? The funding agency might cut the amount of the money, right? Or sometimes they can give whatever money you have proposed also. And then you can also get the rejection decision, of course. But what happens is once you get a rejection decision, most of the funding agencies, like let's say for ANRF or DBT, you can get a detailed summary statement. You can get the review comments and you can get your score, feedback score. And then you can try to look at them very thoroughly and try to analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the proposal. And you can address every critic, whenever you're trying to resubmit the same proposal in the next cycle. So basically, you are trying to reverse engineer, whatever review comments which you get, so that you can try to fill all the, gaps which are there in your proposal, and you make the proposal successful for the subsequent submission cycle, right? So with this, I'll probably stop here, and then I would be happy to take any questions. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Balakrishna, sir.
Yes, sir. Madam. Yes, madam.
Yes, do you want to ask something?
Yes, yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Very grateful to have you here, sir. Sir.
Thank you.
We are having, we are having very cordial relationship with Lindy Institute of Engineering and Technology. Yeah, my first question is, why do IITians only get project
No, that is a
grants?
myth. See, instead of asking that kind of a question, why do only IITians get project? I think you should also ask a reverse question that IITians also get the proposals rejected. I mean, if you ask me, I can tell you a lot of stories, because several of my proposals got rejected. I mean, I also have a successful story, but I also have the failure stories as well.
Okay, sir. Sir,
So
one more
it is
question.
completely a myth that the funding is only for centrally funded institutes or only for IITians and all that. I think as long as you make a good proposal, see, it is important that you need to have a proper team. So you try to make a proper team, okay, and
Okay.
then maybe your proposal can be through.
Sir, thank you, sir. With your permission,
Mm,
and the permission from my HOD, Sailja ma'am, I would like to ask you a few questions, sir.
mm,
Um, Transforming ideas into funded innovations,
mm,
strategic approaches to grant writing. Yeah, that is our concept.
mhm,
Yeah, in this, I would like to have you ask you some questions. What are the key elements that differentiate a fundable proposal from a rejected one?
mm. So, see, the key elements is that the key elements of any general proposal is whatever I have projected in the slide, right? Because if you look at
Yes, sir.
anatomy of the winning proposal, I said that there should be specific objective, your problem statement, your abstract executive summary, and then your methodology section, right? All these are the basic elements, right?
Yes,
But
yes, sir.
what is important is how you are going to articulate it. Okay. Like for
Yeah,
example, there are certain specific objectives. I also mentioned that you should not use certain language. Like there are certain verbs which you should not use, and there are certain verbs which you should use it. Like let's say I cannot I cannot overclaim my things, right? You should never overclaim. You should
yes, sir.
not be ambiguous, right? You should sound like whatever you're trying to propose, it is kind of a doable. And whenever you're trying to be more ambiguous and whenever you're trying to overrate or be over ambitious, then reviewers basically don't believe. Okay, they will think that they will definitely think that the principal investigator is trying to make it very vague and over ambitious. So this proposal is definitely not feasible or doable, right?
Oh,
Although you have all the sections. So my suggestion is that try to have a proper language, okay, in terms of the wordings which you're using in drafting the proposal. I think this is really important.
sir, actually, my question is,
Hmm.
I have nearly about 6 to 8 research papers.
Hmm.
That is with respect to the project proposal I have
Hmm.
written.
Hmm.
Yeah, still my project proposal that was rejected. I'm very surprised, but I didn't take it much. Yeah, the project proposal was written in the format of 2047 Viksit Bharat with
Hmm.
respect
Yeah,
to
Viksit
Viksit
Bharat. Yeah.
Bharat.
So that means
Viksit
your
Bharat.
project is aligned to the national mission, but
Yes,
make
sir.
sure,
Yes,
I
sir.
think when you dissect that into the details in the proposal, so I don't know whether you have a proper state-of-the-art literature
Yeah,
review. What is the national status?
that's my doubt, sir. That
Yeah.
is only my doubt. How
Yeah.
could I incorporate
Hmm.
that my title is in alignment with Viksit Bharat 2047? How could I
See,
write?
you should not align with any national mission in the title, the proposal title.
Hmm,
Okay, I think you
okay.
should do that in the executive summary or the abstract. Make sure your opening sentence or the first three, four lines in the executive summary or abstract clearly tell that this particular proposal handles this problem, and this is a very big problem in India, and this
Hmm.
problem is aligned to one of the national mission. Okay,
Yes,
so
sir. Yes,
that
sir.
in three, four lines, in first three lines, you try to articulate in your executive summary.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. సార్
Yeah.
యాక్చువల్లీ నాకున్న డౌట్స్ అన్ని మీరు చెప్పేశారు ఇందులో.
Mm,
కాకపోతే ఇంకో డౌట్ ఉంది. Is there any problem with budget that we are
mm.
proposing?
Budget also, see, nowadays, budget is also very important. You should be really, see, don't propose anything unnecessarily. Like sometimes, we propose, budget for equipment, right? But you really know that even without equipment, also you can still perform, right? Because anyhow, whatever institutional facilities, there you will be
But
writing
but
a list
how
of
can I
instruments available.
but how can I perform my bench work without any equipment?
Like, let's say
Being
your
a chemistry
institute, no, no,
faculty,
no,
I
no,
am
no,
asking you.
no. In an institute, if you have that facility, okay, then you cannot
Uh,
replicate the same instrument in the proposal. In case your institute doesn't have, then you can ask, not a problem.
okay. But
Hmm.
if it costs more than 50 lakhs or 75 lakhs,
Huh.
how can I ask?
See, I'll tell you, you know that depending on what particular call you're applying, right? You know what is the cap, what is the maximum cap, okay?
Yeah,
Like,
the maximum cap is 1 crore to 2
let me give
crores,
you an
sir.
example. Let me give you an
Uh,
example. I
okay,
have submitted a proposal to ANRF, okay?
okay.
Okay, and ANRF, like let's say there is a maximum cap of 2 crore.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are proposing an equipment which is of 75 lakhs or 80 lakhs, which is almost 35% of your entire cost of the project, usually they don't like it. So try to make sure that compared to the overall cost, don't go beyond 20% in terms of your non-recurring.
So non-recurring.
Yes,
Yeah, that should be keeping into mind.
yes, yes.
Sir, actually, I have another question. What is the best way to write a strong problem statement and objectives? Because ante
Mm,
you have mentioned very clearly about everything.
mm,
అసలు నాకు మీకు క్వశ్చన్ అడగటానికే లేదు ఎందుకంటే మీరు మొత్తం చెప్పేశారు.
mm,
బట్ మళ్ళీ మీకు అడుగుతున్నా వాట్ ఈస్ ద బెస్ట్ వే టు రైట్ ఎ స్ట్రాంగ్ ప్రాబ్లమ్ స్టేట్మెంట్ అండ్ ఆబ్జెక్టివ్స్
mm.
that can impress funding agencies.
See, that's what I'm telling, right? I think the kind of wordings you're trying to put in, you should not see to unravel. See, I also face this problem. Initially, when
Yeah,
I
yes,
returned
sir.
back to India, I was
Mm.
little unsuccessful in terms of fetching money. But one of the senior faculty has advised me saying that there are certain terminology which you should not use, especially in terms of framing the specific objectives.
Mhm.
And that really helped me. The moment I changed the objectives, I changed the wordings in the objectives, then it sounded like very different, and my proposal was through in the
Okay.
next round.
Sir, one more question. Last question. Do the number of publications related to a topic is important
Definitely
while applying
important.
for?
Definitely important because that will kind of see if I get that proposal, the first thing I see is whatever you're proposing, whether you have any prior experience on a similar line. And prior experience that can be evident in in the form of publication. So definitely I will look at your publication profile.
But
And
but
mm,
but 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 we can give it in deliverables, right?
means
This I can do. This I can publish. This
I'll
way I
give you an
can.
example. See, I'll give you an
Uh,
example. Like
uh,
let's say I'm working in the area of nanomedicine. Okay,
okay.
if I'm proposing a new kind of a nanomedicine for treating a lung cancer. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
then first thing they will see is whether this person has any prior experience in dealing with lung cancer. He has any papers related to it. Otherwise, they think that whatever experiments you are proposing or whatever disease which you're tackling, it is totally new. Or if you don't have an expertise, you try to bring someone as a co-PI who has that expertise for that. So they will think that this can form a good team.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir,
So don't just simply, yeah, ideas can be endless, right? తెలుగులో I think తెలుగులో మాట్లాడొచ్చు కదా.
మాట్లాడొచ్చు.
హా.
Yes, sir.
సో ఐడియాస్ అనేవి చూడండి అది మనం కూర్చొని ఎంతైనా ఆలోచించవచ్చు ఏమైనా రాయొచ్చు బట్ ఏంటంటే అది ఎంతవరకు వర్కౌట్ అవుతాయి అన్నది వన్స్ యూ పుట్ థింగ్స్ ఆన్ పేపర్ అది ప్రాపర్ టీమ్ ఫామ్ అవుతుందా లేదా అన్నది మనం చూసుకోవాలి ఎందుకంటే ఒక్క పర్సనే అన్ని చేయగలరు అనేది ఒక మిత్ ఇప్పుడు
Yes, sir.
జనాలు అందరూ కూడా టీమ్ ఎఫర్ట్స్ బిలీవ్ చేస్తారు
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
యా సో మేక్ షూర్ దట్ యూ హ్యావ్ అ వెరీ గుడ్ టీమ్ యా
Sir, why
Yes.
can't IIT professors uh, merge with uh, candidates like state universities or kind of aided colleges or funded colleges, so that మాకున్నటువంటి ఇది పెరుగుతుంది కదా.
డెఫినెట్లీ అండి నేను మీకు ఒక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చెప్తాను నేను జస్ట్
ఎస్ సార్.
కపుల్ ఆఫ్ మంత్స్ బ్యాకే నేను 2 ప్రపోజల్ సబ్మిట్ చేశాను ఎస్ఆర్ఎంతో
ఓకే ఓకే
అండ్
సార్.
ఎస్ఆర్ఎం ప్రైవేట్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూటే కదా
ఎస్ ఎస్ఆర్ఎం ఇస్ ప్రైవేట్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్.
యా
లేని ప్రైవేట్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ కాదు, ఇట్ ఈస్ అన్ అటానమస్ కాలేజ్. సో వై
సో
క్యాంట్ వి?
నాకు గీతంతో కూడా ఉన్నాయి ప్రపోజల్స్ గీతం కూడా అటానమస్
బట్ దట్ ఈస్ డీమ్డ్
Okay.
యూనివర్సిటీ.
Sir, Balakrishna sir is openly giving us opportunity that you can associate with us.
Yeah, so no problem.
That's what my question is, ma'am. That's what
అస్సలు
my
ప్రాబ్లం
question is.
లేదండి. I would be more than happy to associate. కాకపోతే
Do they
అంటే
associate only with the deemed universities or
no. It is a
autonomous
myth.
colleges
No,
also?
nothing. Autonomous colleges also.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I
Thank
should
you
find
so
a
much.
good match and a good team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you, sir.
That's very good.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you,
There
sir.
are other participants also who are willing to ask the question, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. Satish,
Yes, sir.
sir, you are still there in the meeting?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I am waiting from last 15 minutes. I had a good word from sir. Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Yeah.
This is Dr. Satish from Manix Engineering College. Sir, you said very clearly about sustainability design goals. See, related to project, can you just suggest me where to articulate that into the draft of the project grant, sir?
Sir, I think that should be there in the executive summary and also in your introduction section, like where you can give your problem statement and background. You make
Yes, sir.
sure that you align, you specifically mention to which particular sustainable goal or which particular national mission you're aligning with, because that is what I think right now the government will look into it.
Yes, sir, absolutely, sir. Generally, when we are trying for incorporating sustainability design goals, majority of them may match with any kind of problem that we take into hand, sir. Particularly in case that chemical, what you said may be absolutely right, and everyone may follow the same.
Yes.
But coming to the computer science and engineering, in order to do this mapping, we have to think little bit, sir. Can you just explore which kind of sustainability goal maybe generally match with any kind of project?
Sir, I think, I probably am not the best person to give the suggestion because I don't work in the area. Again, it depends on, if you're trying to map your domain with a technology, or maybe you're trying to map your domain with, maybe like, let's say if you're trying to develop some sort of a new tool or a new software, I think that probably doesn't really come under SDG.
Yes,
Then
sir.
your focus should be
That
entirely
confusion
different.
is still there, sir.
Then that
As far
focus
as
should be
design
entirely
goals are
different.
concerned,
Yeah.
what you said, absolutely, that the confusion is laying. But when we quote this, ultimately, that we are supposed to justify
Yes,
why that we
absolutely.
are.
If you don't justify, then I think they will just simply
sir.
think that proposal is very bad.
But majority of them are in generic.
In generic, yeah.
That is the reason why that I am particularly after this one.
Yeah.
But I
you
got
should be
little,
able to map with something. You should be definitely
Yes,
able to
yes.
map with something. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That all maybe depends on the way that we defend.
Yeah.
Is it, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I got clear-cut idea that regard sustainability design goals. Sailja ma'am, Hari sir, RVR sir, even Balakrishna garu, thank you for the opportunity. I got this.
Thank you.
Clarity.
Thank you, sir. Good to hear from you, sir. Sir, Hanumantrao garu is also asking, posted some question on chat box. Sir, you can unmute and you can ask the question yourself. Hanumantrao garu. Otherwise, I can read out his question, sir. Sir, is there any standard percentage for deciding recurring and non-recurring expenses? For example, 60% recurring and 40% non-recurring.
So basically, ma'am, actually, we should not go more than 30%, ma'am, in terms of non-recurring.
Okay, sir.
Because non-recurring, like let's say if I'm proposing a total project cost of 1 crore, don't go beyond 30-35 lakhs for non-recurring. Yeah.
Okay. Sir, another question in the chat box is that can we include the purchase of AI tools in the project budget?
Yeah, that can go in contingency.
It comes under contingency.
It comes under contingency, and that is a recurring expense. Yeah, you can keep that. So contingency is some sort of a unforeseen cost.
Sir, I have a question, sir. Is the chance of approval from the private institutes, Balakrishna sir also asked the same question, but I want to again clarify that chance of approval of the projects from the private institutes, like an institute like us, is very less, particularly in ANRF funding projects.
లేదు మ్యామ్, ఐ థింక్ దిస్ ఇస్ అ మిత్. సో ఐ థింక్ నేను అంటే తెలుగులో మాట్లాడచ్చా మ్యామ్?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
యా సో నేను లాస్ట్ కొన్ని సంవత్సరాలుగా చూస్తుంది ఏంటంటే అది అంతా మేబీ ఒక 5-6 years బ్యాక్ అది ఉండింది మ్యామ్. ఏంటంటే ప్రాజెక్ట్ ప్రపోజల్స్ అన్నీ కూడా మోస్ట్లీ పెద్ద పెద్ద ఐఐటీస్, ఈ సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్స్కి వెళ్తాయి అనేది. ఇప్పుడు మీకు చాలా ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ ఉన్నాయి వేర్ ప్రైవేట్ యూనివర్సిటీస్ లైక్ ఇలాంటి అఫిలియేటెడ్ కాలేజెస్ కూడా చాలా సక్సెస్ఫుల్గా నంబర్ ఆఫ్ గ్రాంట్స్ దే ఆర్ సెక్యూరింగ్. మీరు ఒక్కటే ఏంటంటే ట్రై టు ఫైండ్ అ వెరీ గుడ్ ఫిట్. మీరు ఏంటైతే ప్రపోజల్ అనుకుంటున్నారో ఆ కాల్ అనేది వెరీ గుడ్ ఫిట్ ఉండాలి. అది గుడ్ ఫిట్ లేకపోతే గనక ఆ సక్సెస్ ఛాన్సెస్ అనేవి చాలా కష్టం. అది మీకే కాదు, మాకైనా అంతే, ఐఐటీస్లో ఉన్న వాళ్ళకైనా అంతే.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
ఆ కాల్ అనేది పర్ఫెక్ట్ ఫిట్ ఉండాలి, మీ ప్రపోజల్ కాల్
Yes,
మీరు
sir.
ప్రపోజ్ చేస్తున్న దానికి. యా
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, hope, as you said, we can be associated with you for project
Definitely, ma'am. I'm
proposal
open for
writing.
collaborations. I'm open for collaborations. I think my email ID is also known. If you open the website, you will see, I mean, our department website and all. So feel free to reach out to me for any sort of collaborations and all, and I would be very happy to, explore any further discussions. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And if there are any participants who want to ask question to sir, please raise your hand so that we
Ma'am,
can give unmute option.
మ్యామ్
Yes,
నాకు ఇంకో
yes.
క్వశ్చన్ ఉంది.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Please go.
యాక్చువల్గా ఏంటంటే హౌ టు రైట్ అన్ ఇంప్రెసివ్ టైటిల్ by which we can get an attention from the funding agencies. Yeah, that is my question.
సో ఇంప్రెసివ్ టైటిల్ అనేది, ఐ మీన్ నన్ను అడిగితే నా ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ప్రకారం టైటిల్ షుడ్ నాట్ బి టూ లాంగ్. సో సమ్ టైమ్స్ మనం ఏం చేస్తామంటే టూ మెనీ యాడ్జెక్టివ్స్ పెట్టేస్తాం టైటిల్లోని. సో ఎక్కువ యాడ్జెక్టివ్స్ పెట్టేసి టైటిల్ని చాలా లెందీ చేసేసి అట్లా అస్సలు ఉండకూడదు. టైటిల్ షుడ్ బి వెరీ కన్సైజ్ అండ్ ఓవర్ క్లెయిమ్ ఉండకూడదు టైటిల్. బట్ అలాగే నోవెల్టీ ప్రొజెక్ట్ అవ్వాలి. అండ్ టైటిల్ కూడా ఏంటంటే యాజ్ బ్రీఫ్ యాజ్ పాసిబుల్. ఎందుకంటే ఎప్పుడైనా షార్టర్ టైటిల్ విల్ గివ్ మోర్ ఇంపాక్ట్ దాన్ హ్యావింగ్ లాంగర్ టైటిల్. So make sure that in terms of a Word document, your title is not longer than 1.5 line.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
1.5 line కి మించి ఉండకూడదు.
What about interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary regarding project proposal grants? How much important they are?
ఇప్పుడు అందరూ చూస్తుంది అదేనండి. ఇప్పుడు అందరూ ఏంటంటే, ఇప్పుడు నేను కోర్ బయాలజిస్ట్, నేను ప్రపోజల్ సబ్మిట్ చేస్తాను, లేదా నేను కోర్ ఓన్లీ కెమిస్ట్రీ సబ్మిట్ చేస్తాను కాదు. ఇప్పుడు మీరు కెమిస్ట్ అయితే మీరు ఏమైనా మాలిక్యూల్ సింథసైజ్ చేస్తే ఆ మాలిక్యూల్స్కి డెఫినెట్గా ఏదో ఒక బయాలజికల్ యాక్టివిటీ ఉంటుంది. సో బయాలజిస్ట్ ఎవరైనా ఉన్నారా మీరు ప్రపోజల్ సబ్మిట్ చేసినప్పుడు? ఎందుకంటే నేను ఈ మాలిక్యూల్ సింథసైజ్ చేశాను, ఈ మాలిక్యూల్కి యాంటీ క్యాన్సర్ పొటెన్షియల్ ఉంది, లేదా ఈ యాంటీ ఇన్ఫ్లమేటరీ పొటెన్షియల్ ఉంది అని రాయడం వరకు వేరు. కానీ ఇప్పుడు ఆ యాక్టివిటీని టెస్ట్ చేయాలంటే మీకు డెఫినెట్గా బయాలజిస్ట్ బోర్డులో ఉండాలి. సో అక్కడ మీరు బయాలజిస్ట్, కెమిస్ట్ కలిసి వర్క్ చేయాలి అక్కడ.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, a question from participant called Surendra Mani. He wants to ask you about the projects related to mathematics.
సారీ మ్యామ్, ఐ థింక్ మ్యాథమెటిక్స్ రిలేటెడ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ నాకు అంత ఐడియా లేదు. నేను అగైన్ నాది ఈ సైన్సెస్ డొమైన్ బేసిక్లీ.
Okay. Sir, as per my little knowledge, there is a matrix funding under ANRF, sir.
Yes. Okay. That is more for computational tools.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, mathematical and computational tools. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So if the participants have no questions, then we can end up the session by thanking today's speaker, Dr. Raviraj, sir. Yes, okay. So, sir, we are truly grateful for your time and expertise you have been with us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for the detailed explanation of the steps involved in project proposal writing and clarifying or answering the queries so patiently.
Thank you.
And especially making us aware of this lens.org tool.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all the participants for joining today's session. We have a great day. We'll meet in the tomorrow's session. Thank you.
Come.